Hey everyone, I finished watching the next Wild Force episode, Monitoring Earth. I don't like this one. That's surprisingly not something I've said a lot in this rewatch of Wild Force. Most Wild Force episodes I've really liked so far. There's not a lot of bad episodes. Like, there's a few slower ones, some ones that are like a lot of fight scenes that are just, I don't know, they're hard for me to really get into without like a character moment or anything in there. But yeah, I remember this one as a kid, and this kind of turned me off of Power Rangers for a little bit, uh, which is too bad. Anyway, also as an adult, I remember when I first got the Shout Factory box sets and I was watching Wild Force again, I got to this episode, and I remembered seeing certain episodes from back when I was a kid, and this was one of them. And I remembered not liking it as a kid, and I was like, well, maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe like in context I'll understand it better, and no. This is uh there's good things in the episode, but overall like Kite is a massive problem. And that's too bad because I did kind of like Kite. I liked having this kind of outsider character with the Rangers, and this just kind of ruins them. I mean, it reveals the secret behind Kite that's been there the whole time, but I don't know. I liked him better as just some weird kid who hung out with the Rangers. So anyway, it starts off Kite's watching TV. He sees these news reports about an oil spill and pollution, and he's all ticked off about it. And so he's trying to tell the Rangers about it. Why would humans do this? Pollute their own planet? And so then he runs away all angry and confused, and then the Rangers go to look for him. But then the orgs find Kite, and they take him to this massive dump, which like just stretches for miles. I have no idea where this is. I'll talk about it more at the end because there's some weird stuff about this. So, they're telling Kite, "Look what the humans have done. All this pollution is from the humans." And then an org is born out of the garbage, Monitor Org. Oh, and Monitor Org is voiced by Kerrigan Mahan, the voice of Goldar. If you're very familiar with Mighty Morphin and you watched this, that's gonna be like the first thing you noticed is about Monitor Org is, that roar he does sounds a lot like Goldar. The voice he has isn't quite Goldar, it's a little more raspy than Goldar, but oftentimes it does slip back into a more Goldar-y voice. So then the Rangers go to stop the Org when it goes on a rampage, and the new Org's weird ability is he can trap people in TV monitors. So he goes to a stadium and he traps all the crowd in a big monitor. And so then the Rangers go to fight Monitor Org, and then Mandalok shows up and reveals to the Rangers that Kite is with them, and Kite, like, uh, sternly tells the Rangers, "You're supposed to be guardians of the Earth, but you don't stop humans from polluting." That's a scene that was in the next episode trailer, and I remember as a kid seeing that and just being like, nah, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of this change for Kite. So then Taylor tries to get Kite away from the Orgs, and then the Monitor Org attacks the Rangers, and Kite just stands there and doesn't interfere with anything. They're fighting with Monitor Org. Monitor Org picks up a car, throws it at the Rangers, and then they dodge it, and it's going right for Kite, and they're like, "Oh no, Kite!" And then Kite holds out his hand and just poof and stops it, like Edward in Twilight, kind of. So then he just pushes the car right away, and the Rangers are like, "Whoa, what?" And they don't have time to think about that because Monitor Org is attacking again. They manage to destroy him. Toxica pops up, makes him grow. A Zord battle starts. Merrick goes back to Kite, and he's like, "Kite, you gotta listen. The Orgs aren't your friends." And then Kite just tosses him away, just like he did with the car. And then the Rangers defeat Monitor Org, and then from the destructive blast of Monitor Org, this little robot thing pops up, and it flies and it hits the Megazord, and it latches onto the Megazord, And then Mandalorian has this controller, and he says, "With my robotic bug, I can control the Megazord." And so the orgs have control over the Megazord, and then suddenly Kite rises up into the sky. Yeah, floats up into the sky, and then turns into Animus. I remember as a kid, like I wasn't following Wild Force super closely, but I kind of knew who Animus was from earlier episodes. He was some kind of godlike uh, thing to the Wild Zords. So as a kid, this was like, whoa, what the? Huh? Oh, all right. Like it made sense, I guess, with the clues they had been setting up. But then here's where it gets kind of stupid. Mandalorian uses the Megazord to attack Animus. Animus destroys that robot bug that they're using to control the Megazord. The orgs retreat. And then the Rangers are like, wow, cool, Animus was Kite the whole time. And then Animus is like, Rangers, you're not stopping pollution, so I'm taking the Zords away. Bye. And the Rangers are standing there like, what just happened? And then Shayla is up on the Animarium, and then she sees the Zords disappearing. She faints, falls into a magic sleep, and the narrator pops up to explain that to us because we can't see what's going on. I don't know, whatever. So then, that's the end. Frustrating episode as a kid, I remember, and it's still frustrating now. Kite Animus is based off a character from Gaoranger, and a very similar story happens in Gaoranger, and that's also kind of controversial among fans. There's a lot of fans who don't think that Kite Animus here or his counterpart in Gaoranger were in the right to do this. And like from a story point, this is a very weird thing because it doesn't really make Animus look like a good guy. It makes him look like a weak-willed antagonist who was easily influenced by the orgs. Oh, that was a thing. When Kite becomes Animus, the first thing that the orgs do is they ask Animus, Kite, whatever, to destroy the Rangers, and when he refuses, that's when they turn the Megazord on him. So anyway, that's like the only negative thing the orgs do to Kite Animus in this episode. I mean, aside from like destroying him a couple thousand years ago. Whoops. I don't know. It's very weird. If Kite was regaining his memories of being Animus, why did he hang around with the orgs? I don't know. It's just so strange how trusting he was to the orgs, and that like the Rangers who have been his friends for all this time that he's been human, he doesn't care about them. So I'm wondering, like, as Animus's like memories or whatever is coming into Kite more, is Kite disappearing? That kid that Cole met, is he slowly disappearing as Animus takes over or something? Huh. Kind of dark. Whatever. Moving on. Uh, the dump that the orgs take Kite to is very weird, and I don't know what it is. Back in Mighty Morphin, there's an episode where Kimberly and Trini have these petitions to get a dump site closed down, and they go to like it looks like an actual, or while it doesn't really look like a dump, it looks more like a dump that was abandoned a couple of for like a while. Like it's all rusty. There's some goo dripping here and there. Oh, and in Megaforce, there's a scene where there's like a pipe with like chemical runoff from a plant or something. Here, the dump looks like a weird fantasy landscape, and I'm honestly not sure what exactly it's supposed to be. Is it really a dump? Is this like actually supposed to be an actual literal like just dump, like normal dump that humans made in Wild Force, or is this something that the is this an illusion the orgs made to make it look worse? With the red sky, it makes it look like it's an illusion. Or is it just supposed to be exaggerated for effect? I don't know. They don't really explain it, and Kite doesn't really have too much reaction to it, except for humans made all of this pollution. So then, um, looking through my notes here, Animus Kite really doesn't come off looking very good in this episode. like I said earlier, he comes off more as a bad guy than anything because of how he acts. And it's really unfortunate because with minor alterations, Animus Kite could have come off not so bad. Like it would still be kind of like holier than thou, but I don't know, it wouldn't have been as bad as this. Um, anyway, it's kind of weird because he like blames the Rangers for the responsibility of the Earth being polluted, but it's weird because we never see him try to fight pollution at all. Like it seems like wouldn't he be more considered responsible being like a like nature connected spirit with godlike abilities? Like Kite, don't you, Animus, whatever, don't you have the ability to get rid of pollution or whatever? Also, like kind of acting high and mighty for like a civilization that apparently had enough pollution to create the orgs in the first place. Like that's in the backstory. Animaria, before it became the Animarium, was a civilization ruled by Animus and Shayla and the other whoever. And then there was like a pile of garbage or whatever, ooze, goo, something. And from that, Master Org and a bunch of orgs appear. So it's not like you guys were doing much better. Whatever, moving on. Monitor Org is kind of a boring character. I was thinking after watching this, the Monitor Org probably should have been a more sympathetic character, because that would have helped maybe push Kite further from the Rangers, and he'd more side with the Orgs. Like, it would help humanize the Orgs a little bit, so that it'd make it a little bit more reasonable that Kite would, like, so separate himself from the Rangers and be on the Org's side, at least for, you know, until the end when they attack him and he just goes like, I don't like anybody. Yeah. Um, let's see. Da, da, da. Oh yeah, the narrator is back, and that's annoying. I don't like the narrator. Or real actually, I wouldn't mind the narrator if he was a consistent thing, but the problem is he's not a consistent thing. He just pops up whenever. For the last couple of episodes, he'll just pop up in like a random episode explaining things that we see on screen and we don't need explained. I don't know what the point of him is. One of the things I was wondering about was why the narrator is there, because he only just started popping up in these episodes, and I was wondering, was he an addition that ABC requested, because Wild Force at this point would have switched from Fox Kids to ABC. So did ABC look at the episodes and they were like, this needs more explanation, so bring the narrator back in at the end of this episode? Or maybe did ABC just like the idea of the episodes ending with a narrator? Either one of those I could like see as like being a reason, but I don't think the narrator pops up often after this. And let's see, the other thing, like the way the narrator will just restate exactly what we're seeing on screen reminds me of the Thomas the Tank Engine movie, Hero of the Rails. It was the first big CGI special. The characters all had their own animation, their own voices, and there's still a narrator explaining everything while the characters are talking. Like, Thomas will, like, smile at somebody, and then the narrator goes, Thomas smiled. Yeah, we can see it. So, yeah, that's what that reminds me of. It's not a good thing. So, finally, the last thing I want to talk about with this is Kite Animus from the very beginning is very reminiscent of the character from Turbo Aryutan, who, like Animus, Kite he's a little boy nature spirit thing that interacts with the Rangers and has some kind of mysterious abilities. Now, Aryutan in Turbo works pretty well. He's a more proactive character than Kite Animus is. Kite Animus, one of the big problems with what he does is the fact that he doesn't really do much more, if anything, than the Rangers when it comes to stopping pollution. The Rangers are at least fighting the Orgs. What's Kite Animus doing? He actively hinders them by taking away the Wild Zords. What's your logic there, idiot? Anyway, Aryutan, uh, like it's not much, but we see like a group of litter bugs tossing junk on the ground, and he like causes a wind and a storm, and it just pesters them away. Also, he goes up and thanks TJ when he picks up some garbage. So it's not a lot, but it's something. It's definitely more than Kite or Animus ever did. So anyway, Eryutan's a far more interesting and better character, and I kind of wondered, uh, let's see, because I don't think Eryutan had a counterpart in Car Ranger. They had Turbo, Power Rangers Turbo in Japan, so I'm wondering if Eryutan was a inspiration for Futaro? I can't remember how to pronounce his name. The kid from Gao Ranger. I think Futaro was his name. Anyway, I was wondering if Eryutan was any kind of inspiration for that character. Uh, and also in Power Rangers, since Eryutan already existed, I'm wondering why they didn't just use him as Animus. Like maybe this kid was the reincarnation of the reincarnation of Animus. But I don't know, but they probably figured nobody would remember one character that only appeared in one episode of Turbo years ago at that point. So, yeah. Anyway, thinking over the episode the last couple of days, I remembered that the next one kinda redeems Kite Animus at the tail end of the episode, which still doesn't come across very good because of other stuff that happens in the next episode, but it's trying a little bit. But the problem is when his redemption comes, it's kind of brings its own problems. So yeah, I'll talk about that when I get to it. So yeah, that was it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.